Hello everyone, my name is Dee and welcome to Books and Quirks. Today I thought I'd just give you my weekly wrap-up or Friday reads, as I call it. So it's been a couple of weeks, but I was able to finish quite a few things and I'm reading a couple of amazing books. So I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit. Hope you're all doing well, enjoying the summer weather now that things are slowly getting back to normal. So last week I was in the mood for a reread of some of my favorite books. And the first book that I picked up was What We Saw by Hartzler. This is a YA thriller mystery kind of book. It deals with very harsh subjects like rape, for example. It follows a young woman named Kate Weston. She is, at the beginning of the book, there's a big party that she goes to, and she was pretty drunk, and she doesn't remember a whole lot of the previous evening. And it turns out that someone is now making accusations that she was brutally raped by 3 boys in the school. This book really was powerful. It speaks to kind of group pressure. It speaks to what it means when you're silent about, somebody's actions, and how it's very reminiscent of a lot of things that have happened recently in our own news, like, the victim being victimized even further through blame and things like, slut shaming and all of those things that are awful that happen to, the victim in many cases of rape. So this is a very hard-hitting book, but I think it's a very important book as well. I reread it because I remembered a little bit about it. I read this maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I remembered a little bit about it, but I didn't remember the details at all, and I kind of wanted to reread it. So I was in the mood for something, a little bit with a little bit more meat and flesh to it. So I picked this one up, and I believe I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I picked up and finished, and I actually finished this in 2 weeks. I wasn't sure. I thought it would take me much longer to read, but that is The Fall of Giants by Ken Follett. So this is a historical fiction. It takes place during World War I, and it follows several different characters across several different countries. And although that may seem confusing, it's really not. It's very readable. I think I gave this 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed some of the character storylines. Others were, eh. And the only part that I really struggled with was when it came to war strategy. I really struggle with those types of things in books. So, but, like I said, a couple of the storylines really took me. This is a very readable book, and despite the massive length of it, because it is almost 1,000 pages, it does go quickly. I didn't realize how quickly it would go. I think the last time I had spoken about this, I was only like 100 pages in, so I wasn't really kind of sure how the rest of the book would go, but it turned out to be a page turner, especially as I got towards the middle. And I managed to finish this in 2 weeks, so really enjoyed this book as well. Another book that I reread was Legend by Jude Deveraux. So Legend is a historical fiction romance. It's also a time travel romance. So it follows a young woman who is, newly engaged. She's engaged to be married to a douche, basically. And and she is kind of searching for her wedding dress. She comes upon this vintage wedding dress in this very old trunk. And it's a wedding dress from, like the previous century. And it comes, she's, there are the shoes and the veil and everything's in this trunk. and along with a photo of the people that probably owned the dress or were married in that dress. It was very well preserved in paper. So she sort of buys this trunk. She doesn't know what's in it. And then, of course, the wedding dress and everything was inside it. And when she puts on the wedding dress, she's transported back in time to this, Western kind of town in the 1800s in Colorado. And, slowly, meets some outlaws and some town folk, and a love story kind of evolves from there. It took a different turn from what I remembered. Now again, this is a book that I read many years ago. I remembered loving it, but I didn't remember hardly anything about it because I read so much. So but as I read, everything was sort of coming back, and what you think might happen in the middle of the book turns out completely, it turned around at the end. So I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't go into any more detail, but if you like time travel, if you like romance, then this is definitely one to give a try. A friend recommended it to me quite a few years ago when I first read it, and I was so thankful that she did because it was such a good book. So that's what I read. I'm currently in the middle of 2 books. I'm currently in the middle of the 3rd book in the Rise of Empire, or the Heir Revelations. I'm sure I'm saying that really wrong, but this is the series by Michael J. Sullivan. It's the 2nd series. It starts 1,000 years after the Age of Myth series, which is the Rise of Empire series, which is a 6-book series that I read, over the past few months. So now Cheryl and I, I'm buddy reading this with Cheryl of CR Flames Fan, and we are reading now the 3rd book in this series. So we finished the 2nd book last week. We started the 3rd book this past week, and it is just so exciting. I have learned over the past few months to really love Michael J. Sullivan. His writing is phenomenal, in my opinion, and he just, you get sucked in right away, and I'm very attached to all of these characters, so I'm just waiting to see how this particular series wraps up. Another book that I'm more than halfway through is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This is a YA fantasy novel. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it's very good so far. I really enjoy it. So this follows Prince Ren. So Prince Ren is the prince of this, fairy tale-like kingdom. He has been cursed. He was cursed on his 18th birthday by an evil enchantress, and basically this curse involves him, having to go through the same summer season over and over again until he can find a girl that can fall in love with him. So basically at the beginning of every season, he takes a girl, prisoner basically, and sees if she'll fall in love with him. That's the only way to break the curse. So it's very reminiscent of Beauty and Beast. As part of this curse, they have a window of time at the beginning of every season where they could travel into the real world, capture a girl, bring her into the fantasy world, and, kind of keep her there. So we follow Prince Ren. He turns, if he doesn't find a girl to fall in love with him at the end of the season, at the end of 3 months, he turns into a beast, which is like a killing machine. And the girl supposedly returns to her homeland, to the real world. So it's kind of funny because it's kind of like, this fantasy world juxtaposed with the real world that we all live in. So it's a funny little, I like that idea that the author had. So this follows Harper. Harper is the girl that was taken from the real world and brought into this fantasy world. She's really interesting because she has cerebral palsy, which is not something that I normally see in characters in books, especially in main characters. So I thought that was quite refreshing. And, she starts to really, she despises Ren. She sees him as very arrogant, and they start to get to know one another, obviously. So, yeah, so this is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, very reminiscent of 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 the story. And yeah, I'm eager to see how it goes. This is going to be part of a trilogy. There's a lot more going on. It's not just, a love story. It's more of, um, royal politics. This other kingdom is trying to invade their land and basically overtake it. So there's a lot going on. And, she's sort of thought of as the hope for this village that has been also caught in the ramifications of the curse. So it's really, really good. I'm really, really enjoying it. And I can't wait to go on in the series. However, I may wait to read the second and third book because the third book, the first two are out already. But the third book doesn't come out until next year, 2021. So I may wait a while and then maybe just reread the first book and then just continue on and binge read the whole trilogy. So that is all I have for you. That's basically what I've been doing. I've also been watching The Order on Netflix, which was just, came out a couple days ago. So yeah, I'm really enjoying The Order. And nothing else has really been going on. I'm still working every day, so that keeps me pretty busy and trying to go out a little bit more now that the nice weather is here. Although it's going to get hot the next couple of days, so I don't know how that will be, but I hate when it gets like really muggy and humid. But who knows? We'll have to see how it goes. But I hope that you're all having a good day. I hope you're all well, and I'll see you all very, very soon.